again, Eli Manning saying this kid is a quick study, guys.
Well, they certainly need Beckham to step up, as well as Ruben Randall, and we'll talk about some of the others when the Giants get the football. Standings inside the NFC East, Philadelphia and Dallas. Winners of 5 of 6. Cowboys have won 5 in a row. And Jason Pierre-Paul has already gone on record as saying this is a must-win for the New York Giants. Cowboys won the toss, and they've elected to receive. Back of the end zone, and the Cowboys will get the football at the 20-yard line. Tony Romo, during this 5-game win streak, of course, he has the #1. Oh, we have a fight breaking out already. At the 15-yard line, it looked like Mark Herzlich was in the middle of that for the Giants side. Not sure about from the Cowboys side. No penalty flag either way. See if we can figure out where it started. Anthony Hitchens there got tangled up, it looked like, with Herzlich. And a few others joining in on the fray. Not a surprise inside an NFC East divisional matchup. So first down for the Cowboys. Behind Romo, the NFL's leading rusher, and that is DeMarco Murray. And that is a gain of 5 on first down. They're not leaning, Troy, as much on Tony Romo to win games the way they're playing right now.
No, they haven't had to, because they've been able to run the ball like we just saw there on first down with DeMarco Murray and have success doing that. Not a good start defensively here on the first play of the game. Anticipating run, they bring down an extra guy, and they give up 5 yards.
Romo nearly lost the handle and was able to get it back, and he is dropped at the 20, the original line of scrimmage.
Well, he tries to come out. He wants to hit the quick slant, and as he fakes the pass there to his left is when the ball got away from him. Fortunate to be able to recover that, and then the defense finally gets on top of him, and he goes to the ground. Good coverage that time by New York. It looked like he had the slant front side, but then they ran a defender underneath it, and that's why Romo was forced to hold the ball.
It's where the Cowboys have been lights out this year. They're converting on 56% on third downs. That is best in the NFL. Romo stepping out of trouble and just throws it to the far side, and it looks like Des Bryant is short of a first down. It will depend on the spot. And the Cowboys will punt 3 and out.
Well, that was a big stop defensively for the New York Giants. After giving up 5 yards there on first down with a run by DeMarco Murray, Perry Fewell knows that, as you said, Tom, they're facing the #1 offense in terms of converting on third down. To force a 3 and out to open this game is big.
They've got the rookie Odell Beckham Jr. back to return this punt. That's something he did a lot of in college. He picks it up off a couple of bounces, and then steps out of bounds at the 24-yard line. Eli Manning starts his 158th consecutive regular season game today, the longest active streak for any player at any position in the NFL. He lost for the first time in this stadium last year after winning his first 4 trips.
There's a lot of new faces from the ones that have come in here and won, but in visiting with Eli before this ball game, it's a stadium that he feels comfortable performing in.
Andre Williams met at the line of scrimmage by George Selby. Some of the players to keep an eye on. Talked about the receiving core of Randall, Beckham Jr., and today anyway, Preston Parker. Guys having to try and replace the injured Victor Cruz, suffering that terrible knee injury back in the end zone last week against Philadelphia. Williams again and again met head on, this time by Tyrone Crawford.
Tyrone Crawford just does an outstanding job. He's going up against the right guard John Jerry, and he comes across his face. Justin Pugh, he misses on a block on first down. I talked about it. The Giants want to pound the football, but those were two poor plays to start this game.
Third down at 11. They hand it off to Peyton Hillis. And the one-time Cleveland Brown is wrapped up. 3 and out as well for the Giants.
How about that? This Dallas defense is giving up over 5 yards a rush coming into this game. And I know in visiting with the Giants offensively, they really felt that they would come in here and run the football, and it's early. And it's hard to get those yards early in a ball game, but 3 straight runs. A good job defensively there by the Dallas Cowboys forcing a punt.
Giants one of 3 teams who have not scored on their opening possession of a game so far this year. Punted away by Steve Weatherford, and Harris tackled right where he caught it at the 24-yard line by Stevie Brown. NFC East, Cowboys and the Giants. No score, just underway. Jason Garrett, 48 years young, grew up outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and perhaps has the style of football that he's been looking for, and now his 4th full year as head coach. And that means running the ball with more frequency. And they have built this Cowboy team behind a very strong offensive line. Not much running room there as Matthias Kiwanuka wraps up DeMarco Murray. Murray, the NFL's leading rusher by a ton. You know about Brian Terrence Williams, couple of big games consecutively, big plays for Dallas. And Jeremy Parnell replaces the injured Doug Free at right tackle.
Yeah, and that's one to keep an eye on because Jeremy Parnell just making his 3rd NFL start. And that's a position that the Giants and Matthias Kiwanuka hope to take advantage of.
Murray into the secondary. Breaking tackles, still on his feet to the 42.
You get a good look at this offensive line and the job that they do. Travis Frederick, Zach Martin there at right guard, and you see the push that Travis Frederick gets. He's all the way up on the safety before there's even contact. That's just an outstanding job by that offensive line, and they've been doing it all season long.
Murray last week rushed for 115 yards and a touchdown against Seattle, joining Jim Brown as just the 2nd player in NFL history to begin a season with 6 consecutive 100-yard rushing games. They give him a breather. And this is Lance Dunbar, who's up close to the 45. That'll be a gain of 3. The Giants have had all kinds of issues in their secondary. Rogers Cromartie played on 3rd down in the last series. Zach Bowman has been in there to start the game.
Well, they've been depleted to some extent there in the secondary with some injuries. They've lost 2 of their nickel corners already this season, and Walter Thurman, and then this week Trumaine McBride went on IR, and so now they're having to rely on Jaron Hosley as their nickel corner.
Looking down the field for Williams. And that is great coverage by the aforementioned Zach Bowman. Remember now, Bowman's not some youngster. Seen a lot of experience and a lot of playing time. His 6 years in Chicago.
Well, it's an outstanding job by Zach Bowman because that's what Dallas does. They're going to run the football and they're going to try to take their shots down the field. And Terrence Williams has been a big play receiver for this offense. You talked about him a little bit earlier, and the play that he made last week was huge. Zach Bowman running right with him stride for stride. That's a great job of getting a hand on the ball.
That was that 3rd and 20 in the 4th quarter. And a 23-yard reception by Williams, which kept that game-winning drive alive. Good protection. And they find the always dependable Jason Witten. And that's a 1st down to the Giants' 44-yard line.
Well, the whole key to this play is the offensive protection for Tony Romo. Jason Witten, he runs the crossing route. That's a hard cover there for Jaquan Williams to run with him in man coverage. Right now, Dallas running the football, and they've given Tony time to throw the ball from within the pocket.
You're out.
Murray back in the game off to the right side. And that'll be a gain of 4 close to the 40-yard line.
Perry Fuel was saying that, in years past when they came in and played against the Cowboys, the focus was Des Bryant, knowing that he was their big play guy. And this year, that's not the case. I mean, they are loaded up and they're trying to stop DeMarco Murray in that running game.
You're allowed to do that. Amukamara pulling down the locks of Dwayne Harris.
Buddy, no BB.
Murray looking for room, and this time nothing there. Met by the second-round pick a season ago out of Ohio State, Jonathan Hankins. Perry Fuel told us he's a man who's taken over for Linval Joseph, and he's a guy in his Giants defense that just does his job.
Oh, for a guy that's as big as he is, he's 320-plus pounds. He moves pretty well. And they take him off the field now at third down. They try to bring in some guys that can rush the passer.
Yellow, ready?
Which is ironic because Hankins leads them in sacks. That gives you an idea about how very little production they're getting out of Pierre-Paul and Kiwanuka. Third down, Romo steps up. And that's Escobar. A first down to the Giants 15. He only made 1 catch in a game last week in Seattle, and that was a touchdown.
Yeah, they finally got Gavin Escobar involved at least in getting a touchdown last week, and now they got him involved in converting here on third down. But there's just no inside pressure on Tony Romo, and without that, they are going to shred you within the passing game. We know they're going to get their yards. They're certainly going to be able to run the ball with DeMarco Murray, but in order to get off the field on third down, which is important, they've got to be able to get inside pressure, and so far they've been unable to do it.
57, 180!
Give it again to Murray. And not much running room there as Pierre-Paul came down the line. Pierre-Paul, a guy 3 years ago, Troy, looked like he would become the next dominant presence wearing a Giants uniform. Had the monster 2011 season, 16.5 sacks. He's turned in some big moments in this very venue, but injuries, lack of production, not been the same guy.
I know last week was a tough game for him. It was a tough game really for the entire football team, but you said he came out this week, said it's a must win. He's going to have to be a factor in this game.
Corner of the end zone, and just throwing it away is Romo with an eye on Williams. It'll bring up third down and 10 from the 15.
It's really uncanny the way that Tony Romo was able to avoid the sack, week after week with guys that have free rushes, especially to his blind side, and yet they come in a little bit out of control. This is the move that he makes. He made it on J.J. Watt, arguably the best pass rusher in all of football. This time Quentin Demps has a straight shot at Romo, and he's unable to get him to the ground.
11th play of the drive. They've converted twice on third down. This one third and 10. Wide open is Escobar for the touchdown.
Talked about Jeremy Parnell coming in for Doug Free at right tackle. They're going to give some help to that side with DeMarco Murray. And then you've got Gavin Escobar going down the field, and the safety just doesn't play him, just a bust in coverage.
35 consecutive games now for Tony Romo with a touchdown pass. He finds Escobar for a second straight Sunday. 7-0 Dallas.
Today's game is sponsored by Bud Light, who reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly.
Gavin Escobar only 4 receptions this entire season. He had 9 as a rookie a year ago, and they were expecting big things out of this young man. He's been virtually non-existent until these last 2 Sundays. Now with a touchdown reception. 7-0 Cowboys, and Michael Cox will take a knee. Barry Fuels defense losing Escobar in the back of the end zone. And the Cowboys jump in front by a touchdown.
Today's Game on Fox is sponsored by Your Next Truck, Ford F-150, by Pizza Hut. Find the best deals at pizzahut.com. And by Visa Checkout, the easier way to pay online.
Giants get the football, trailing 7-0. And Eli Manning out of the shotgun will throw on first down, and that's Ruben Randall. And that'll be a gain of 7 on a first down completion to Randall.
You go back and take a look at the touchdown. They go trips to one side with 2 verticals. And as you're going to see here, Jaron Hosley, he's got to carry Gavin Escobar up the seam because it puts pressure on the safety and trail roll to try to play both those receivers. He's got to decide, but he had no opportunity. Just really a breakdown there in coverage, and that's why Gavin Escobar was as open as he was.
Once more to throw it, and once more the target is Ruben Randall. That's a first down to the 37-yard line. The Giants a year ago ranked 28th in the NFL in offense. They had a league-high 44 turnovers. Kevin Gilbride retired as their offensive coordinator. They brought in 37-year-old Ben McAdoo. First time he's ever been a play caller after a number of years working alongside of Mike McCarthy in Green Bay, among other places. And it was a very ugly preseason for the Giants offensively. Had a hard time grasping the system. The first 2 games of the regular year, they scored 28 points. And then all of a sudden, they go on a run of 30, 45, and 30 before the shutout last weekend in Philadelphia.
Yeah, no, those first 2 weeks, they were tough weeks to watch. If you were a Giants fan, that 3-game win streak, they did a lot of good things. Nothing wrong with losing at Philadelphia. It was just the way in which it happened.
Great protection. Good coverage there, and Randall looking for a flag that does not come.
Well, it was good protection, too, for Eli Manning, and a good route. You see the release by Ruben Randall, man-to-man coverage, and a well-thrown ball by Eli Manning. He puts it right where he has to, and that's just one that he's got to make.
And that's a player in the Dallas secondary that's really coming on. That's Sterling Moore. 3rd down and 7. Blitz coming, they get it away. Preston Parker loses the ball, and it looked like the ground caused the fumble. Or did it? Yeah, you can see the official pointing down. The ground caused the fumble, and the spot
down by contact. New York keeps the ball.
It was going to be close. As you see him go to the ground is what knocks the ball loose, and right there at that spot, it's close as to whether or not Parker had enough to pick up that first down. You talk about Ben McAdoo and his influence there with the Green Bay Packers. That's a Packers play that they run a lot of there with Aaron Rodgers. They block on the outside immediately to try to allow Parker then to pick up the first down. You see where the ball comes down just short of that yellow line, though, for the first.
Well, they're going to have to measure this. It appears as though they may have received a generous or favorable spot, they being the Giants.
Yeah, based on where they've got it spotted right now on the field, it looks to be a first down.
Well, you look at the cast of characters, they are hoping to try and fill in the void of that production with the loss of Victor Cruz. It is a first down. Well, you hear the term all the time, and Ben McAdoo told us yesterday, next man up after the injury to Cruz. Career resume, Randall, they're hoping he can get some communication issues with his quarterback behind him. Beckham missed the entire preseason with a hamstring injury. Parker working on his third team in the last 3 years. He was out of football building tiki huts a year ago. That's not a joke. Well, and then you have Ogletree, who's on his fourth team in the last 6 years.
You see Jason Garrett here with the flag out. I think this is a good challenge because based on what we saw, when he comes down, he's short of the yellow line. And where that ball was spotted, it obviously then gives the Giants a first down.
In the middle of the field of a first down. The play will be reviewed.
Now it should be noted, the chains are on the other side of the field from where you saw that stick in our picture. And they are going to take a look at it after the challenge by Jason Garrett. Cowboys have challenged a spot after this reception by Preston Parker.
Well, I think it's a good challenge, and take the yellow line out of it, although that's a pretty good indicator. You can see that the chains, the sticks are right, at that line on the side of the field, and it's pretty obvious that where he comes down, he's short of the first down. Now, the decision becomes what does Tom Coughlin want to do if this is reversed and it's fourth down? And obviously not ideal here at midfield, but I think sending a message to your team, I'd like to see him go for it.
Well, clearly this is not a slam dunk decision as they're looking at this, of course, back in New York. And now the ruling.
After reviewing the play, the ball carrier was down by contact at the 46.5-yard line. We will place the ball at the 46.5 and remeasure to see if the line of the game was made.
So I guess what they're telling us is it's not a first down.
Well, they're going to remeasure it. They have now decided where the ball should have been spotted, and now they'll measure it, but based on where the sticks are, if it's at the 46.5-yard line, they're going to be a half a yard short.
They just moved it back about, 3-4 inches, and let's check in with Mike Pereira back in Los Angeles as he's taking a look at the same thing you are taking a look at. Michael?
Tom, you brought up a great point, and that's that the head linesman and the official change were at the bottom of the screen, and that's why they had to do a measurement here. If the head linesman's change were on the top, then they would have just automatically made it fourth down. But since they have to go by the bottom chains, they had to come across and measure.
So they are short based on measuring again. It is to have fourth down in inches, and the Cowboys defense will remain on the field because it appears as though the Giants at least are going to line up to go for it.
And there was a lot of gesturing going on the sidelines by Tom Coughlin, and you wonder whether they're actually going to run a play and go for it here, or is Eli Manning going to try to draw him off sides?
Well, they brought in the fullback, Henry Hynoski. And they have Andre Williams behind him in the old traditional power I formation. Will they snap the ball on 4th and inches? Well, it looked like their left tackle started early, Will Beatty. Of course, the Giants are saying that
False start. Offense, number 65. 5-yard penalty, still fourth down.
Well, now it makes a decision very easy.
Yeah, they were going for it too. They were definitely going to snap the ball and run a play, and with a half a yard to go to keep this drive going, now they're forced to punt. An offensive line that really struggled in last week's loss to Philadelphia just makes a huge mistake by left tackle Will Beatty.
Well, they allowed 8 quarterback sacks in the game against Philadelphia, and the Giants were whistled for 10 penalties in the game. Harris will let this one drop, and it's for the end zone. 2:34 to play in the opening quarter. Cowboys in front 7-0. They'll have the football when we return. A pair of possessions, a pair of punts for the Giants. Trailing 7-0. Dallas with the football from its own 20. Joseph Randle for a gain of 4 on first down. Day after tomorrow, Tuesday night on Fox, the Fall Classic begins. The Giants looking for their 3rd title in 5 years against the Cinderella story Kansas City Royals. Coverage begins Tuesday at 7:30. Madison Bumgarner against one-time Tampa Bay Ray big game James Shields in game 1.
My good buddy Joe Buck back home in St. Louis watching this one from the couch.
Nothing wrong with that. A rare Sunday off for Mr. Buck. Randle again. And let's check in for the first time back in LA. We'll wait on that to Kurt Menefee as a flag came in late.
Holding. Offense, number 65. 10-yard penalty. Replay, 2nd down.
That's Ronald Leary, their left guard.
You see him right there in the middle, 65. Yeah, he's got a grab there of Hankins. Pretty easy call there for the official.
Of course, Joseph Randle was arrested the early part of the week for a shoplifting charge, and of course those charges are still pending. He was not suspended by the league, although without giving a number, Jason Garrett said he was heavily fined for that infraction. 2nd and 16 when we come back. Cullen Jenkins injured on that last play. They're taking a look at him. Some of the early game leaders. How about the shocker in St. Louis where the Rams beat the Seattle Seahawks? Drew Brees with a critical interception in the 4th quarter, allowing Matthew Stafford and the Lions to get into the end zone, and Andrew Luck and the Colts shut out the Bengals today. 2 touchdowns by Andrew Luck. Second down and 16, and that's tipped into the air and nearly intercepted. Now let's check in with Kurt Menefee back in Los Angeles.
All right, Kansas City running back Jamal Charles passed Priest Holmes for the franchise's all-time rushing lead on this run. More importantly, though, the 16-yard scamper tied the game with San Diego at 7. Of course, Tom Troy, San Diego has won 5 in a row, just like the Cowboys.
And they are sitting atop that 5-1 record in the AFC West. Denver will play later tonight.
Yeah, I wasn't sure Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie was going to play anymore in this ballgame. He didn't come in 2nd and long, but he is on the field now.
Set up the screen. And slipping a tackle. Short of the first down out of the backfield is Randle. So the Cowboys played that entire offensive series without DeMarco Murray.
Well, the holding call there on left guard Ronald Leary really stalled that drive. Here's Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, and he's able to get in there and try to get enough of Joseph Randle. He comes up short of the first down, but he was going to be a game-time decision. Clearly, he's limited in this ballgame.
Well, he had to leave the game, you may remember, injured last week. It's running down the entire right side of his body, and Troy, you talked about all the injuries they have had in that secondary. And you look at the Giants now offensively. It appeared, as you pointed out, they were going to go on 4th down and inches, and perhaps that is saying a lot about the way Tom Coughlin feels about the importance of this game and setting the tone early on.
Well, I think that was the right decision there, you know, at midfield, and your defense is just giving up a touchdown drive, and you've got an opportunity to pick up a half yard and keep that drive going. Unfortunately, Beatty then jumps off sides. But I do think it's a game that, because of the success that we've seen of the Cowboys offensively, that offensively you are then having to do some things that maybe you wouldn't ordinarily do because of the way the opponent has been able to move the football.
Well, this is the start of a brutal stretch of games for the New York Giants. Perhaps leading to the statement by Jason Pierre-Paul of this being a must-win. Well, they've got Indianapolis coming up. They've got the Seattle Seahawks, although stumbling a bit here, losing now 2 in a row coming up. First down, Eli to throw it. Just has to throw it into the ground under heavy pressure by Rolando McClain. Let's check in downstairs with Carissa Thompson.
Got an update for you on Cullen Jenkins. He's sitting here on the training table. The doctors were working on his calf. He is doubtful for a return with a calf strain.
Second down and 10. Manning 3 out of 5 for 23 yards. Good protection this time, and a good result for Manning. Catch made by Reuben Randall.
That's an outstanding job by Eli Manning, and he's only able to get to the backside because of the protection that he has. He's trying to work to his front side. The Cowboys do an outstanding job of running underneath that route. They have to then come back. And another well-thrown ball by Eli, because that was good coverage.
And it was enough for a first down. Williams slips a tackle, and then right back to the line of scrimmage is met by Justin Durant. Rod Marinelli, the defensive coordinator of these Cowboys, telling us Durant is the best kept secret in the NFL. It's no secret the Cowboys are on a roll. And at the end of a quarter, they have a 7-0 lead. Three-time Pro Bowl linebacker John Beeson injured his toe going all the way back to OTAs. He just came back after missing 3 games, re-aggravating that injury, and they're taking a look at it right now on the Giants sideline. They trail 7-0. We begin the second quarter, and this is Odell Beckham Jr. That's a good run. He picks up 13 for another first down into Cowboy territory at the 47.
Well, they put Odell Beckham at the slot, so you kind of started to wonder what they were going to do with him, because he doesn't play a lot in the slot position, but they use him on the reverse, and you see how dynamic he is with the ball in his hands. And as Giants fans know, a guy who missed all of training camp, all of the OTAs, very little practice. Pretty amazing he's even able to get out here and do some of the things he's doing now.
Well, Beeson having to leave now the sideline and make his way back to the Giants locker room. They have specially made cleats to try and help that injured toe. It's a pretty severe injury. After a gain of 3 by Williams, Eli to put it up. In trouble, just throws it away. Being chased by Crawford, along with Anthony Spencer. 3rd and 7 coming up.
Yeah, the rookie Weston Richburg, he gets beat off the line of scrimmage. Here he is at left guard, and the pressure gets on Eli Manning. Not a lot of separation, really nowhere for him to go with the football anyway, and wisely just throws it away.
Well, 3rd down and 7 for Eli and the Giants. Four-man rush. Flag down, catch made far short of a first down by Beckham. But we wait on the penalty.
You know, the flag comes from the offensive backfield, but it looked like a lot of contact down the field on Dallas with those receivers.
Holding, offense, number 65. 10-yard penalty, replay, 3rd down.
That's another penalty on the left tackle, Will Beatty. Beatty saying, not me.
There's a hold right there, Justin Pugh. And then the other side looked like there was a hold there on Will Beatty as well. They could have picked either one of them. And there, to me, Tom, watching it where the ball was thrown, there was contact right here at the top of the route, grabbing as Odell Beckham's trying to come out of that route. And there was no flag on that.
So 3rd and 7 turns into 3rd down and 17. Quick hit to the big tight end Larry Donnell, who had the monster game, of course, against the Redskins, where he had 3 touchdowns. That is only his 2nd catch in the last 3 games. And the Giants, once again, it appears they're going to go for it on 4th down and a yard.
Well, there's no doubt here. You know, from the 38-yard line, if they're going to go for it at midfield, they certainly have to go for it from this spot on the field.
Hillis in the backfield behind Hajnowski. And they're going to throw it. Into double coverage. A penalty flag comes down. You had Church and Wilcox running along with Daniel Fells at tight end.
No, they didn't fool anybody. The Cowboys play this very well.
Defense, number 27.
Wilcox and Church have him covered.
Automatic first down.
I'm not sure the ball was really even catchable, Tom, from what I saw, but just a bad play there by the Cowboys, who were in a great position to just make a play on the ball, but instead they try to go through the receiver, and they get called for the penalty.
So an automatic first down after the 11-yard penalty. And the Giants have the football at the Dallas 27, trailing by 7. Williams, a big hole. And he's down to the 5-yard line. The rookie out of Boston College. And, brother, he's a load at 230 pounds.
Well, Justin Pugh does a nice job blocking, and then you see the hole that opens up. Larry Donnell, he holds the point. That's the first big hole we've seen for the Giants.
We'll give it once more to Williams. And he's down close to the 3-yard line. 2nd down and goal. Giants shut out in Philadelphia, of course, last week. 16 possessions. And I would imagine if you're a quarterback or you're on that offense, that feels like a lifetime ago.
Well, it sure does. I mean, it has been quite a roller coaster for this Giants offense, and now they can't get the substitutions in.
12 in the huddle. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
Now, these are the kinds of penalties that are so un-Giant-like.
Well, Tom Coughlin is about to explode. You know, we've seen pre-snap penalties, and then you've got 12 men in the huddle because you can't get substituted properly, and those things just can't occur if you're going to win, especially if you're going to win against a good football team on the road.
At 12 men in the huddle. You saw Beckham try to get off the field. That's already the 3rd penalty against the Giants in the game after 10 last week. Manning looking around. And flag comes down. Beckham a touchdown. But we wait on the penalty. It looks like a hold against the Cowboys, and if that's a call, it's a touchdown.
I think they're going to call Brandon Carr. Odell Beckham, he runs the post corner route.
That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a touchdown.
Now you see the grab there by Brandon Carr as Beckham tries to come back out of the route. But again, when you're running those kinds of routes, Tom, and the receiver is going to start to the middle and come back out, in order to get those throws off, you've got to have good protection inside. And the offensive line gave Eli, again, pretty good protection.
2nd career touchdown for Beckham, who after his first in the game against Atlanta in his debut 2 weeks ago, Tom Coughlin came over and told him that will be the first of many. So here we are early in the 2nd quarter. The Giants have tied the game at 7. Odell Beckham Jr. finds the end zone from 9 yards out. The key 4th down penalty on the Cowboys safeties.
Yeah, big penalty when they were in good position to defend the play. A couple nice plays there by Odell Beckham on the reverse. You know, we saw, and then, of course, the touchdown. We expect big things from him.
Cowboys will get it at the 20-yard line. 11:24 to play until halftime, and DeMarco Murray will be a part of this series. See the numbers early on for Romo, the touchdown pass to Gavin Escobar. And Murray very effective, averaging just short of 5 yards per carry. It's a mighty fine line. Jason Garrett has been asked about it for the last 3 years, not running the ball enough, and now here they are running it all the time, and now they want to know when you're going to give DeMarco Murray a break. Put it back in his hands, and he's up to the 24.
You think back to last year, Tom, and this was an offense that actually ran the ball well a year ago. You know, when they ran the ball, the problem was getting them to run the ball. There's been a change in the mechanics on what they're doing offensively. Last year, a lot of check with me's at the line of scrimmage. Tony Romo had the option between a pass and a run, depending on the looks. A lot of times those plays were passes.
Sure.
This time, they are running the ball. There is not as many options, and they're running the ball against 8-man fronts. Not always easy to do, but the Cowboys have shown that you can do that. We proved that in the 90s with Emmitt Smith. If we never ran the ball against an 8-man front, Emmitt Smith would not be your rushing leader today.
Murray for a pickup of 1, met once more by Jonathan Hankins. Of course, Bill Callahan was a guy who, it appears anyway, took the fall last year. He was the play caller, but you mentioned the check downs by Romo. You call a run, you throw the ball, then the fans want to know why you're not running. And now he is the offensive coordinator / line coach.
Well, Bill Callahan was not brought here to call plays. He was brought here to be the offensive line coach, and that's now what he's doing once again.
Hey, 53. No, I'm not the Mike. Brooklyn. I'm not the Mike. Oh, mama.
That's great audio by our crew right there. Romo on 3rd down, going to run it. Boy, just slides underneath. What would have been a vicious hit between the duo of Antrell Roll and Jameel McClain.
Well, you saw the game going on at the line of scrimmage with the audio, Tom. You're right. Tony Romo's pointing out Jameel McClain, saying he's the Mike. Jameel McClain. No, I'm not the Mike. Of course, they establish who the Mike linebacker is in order to set protection for those offensive linemen.
That was really funny. Murray with a penalty flag down close to the 35-yard line.
Holding. Offense, number 77. 10-yard penalty. Replay. First down.
That's Tyron Smith, #1 pick out of USC.
The Cowboys have had some penalties that have kind of stopped some of these drives that they've had. Tyron Smith, as you said, yeah, #1 pick, 4th-year player, and this week was named NFC Offensive Player of the Week. The first time that's happened for an offensive lineman in the last 10 years. Brian Waters, when he was with Kansas City, was the last offensive lineman to get that honor.
That's 10 years in either conference. After that dominant performance these Cowboys had in Seattle last week. Up close to the 27 is Murray.
Yeah, when you watch the Cowboys, the one thing that really jumps out at you is not just that they are running the ball as much as they are, but how much they run the ball on 1st down. You know, a lot of these teams that run the ball, they still play action you on early downs, but the Cowboys run the ball a lot on 1st down, much more than they did a year ago.
180. What is this?
Well, he spotted that ball closer to the 25 than the 27. And Romo looking down the field. The receiver, Bryant, fell down, and it's intercepted by Prince Amukamara. And he is still on his feet inside the 30 and leveled at the 27-yard line. So the Cowboys turnover and the Giants in business in this 7-7 game.
Well, those corners, you know, when you're trying to play the run for the Cowboys, you're going to get the one-on-one matchups. And let's take a look and see if there was contact. But Des Bryant goes down. I think it's a good non-call. Des Bryant trying to adjust and make a play on the ball, and he gets tripped up and goes to the ground. And I'm not sure that Amukamara really even was responsible for him going to the ground. But that's a big turnover on the interception, with him being able to then get the ball where he did to set up shop for this offense.
On a 1st down, play action. Eli looks down the middle of the field, and the catch is made inside the 5, and into the end zone goes Daniel Fells, the tight end. And the Giants have their first lead of the afternoon.
That's a good call by offensive coordinator Ben McAdoo off of the turnover. Oftentimes an offensive coordinator will then try to take a shot. Now, because where they are on the field, they go play action. Cowboys overplay the run, and Fells makes a nice adjustment on the ball. A ball that was thrown behind him. He was open big time initially. Manning doesn't get the ball to him right away, but they complete the pass, and then he breaks a tackle and scores.
Okay, when Eli's looking for a touchdown, he's looking for one of his tight ends. Donnell has 4 scores. Now Daniel Fells with 4 scores. And some more pushing and shoving going on. But after the turnover, Eli and the Giants on the very first play give Tom Coughlin reason to cheer. Daniel Fells out of football last season. Spent 3 years in St. Louis. A little bit of time in Denver and New England. And already his 4th touchdown catch of this season for the Giants. And that one puts him in front. So now will Dez Bryant, Terrence Williams, and the Cowboys have an answer after the Giants get the takeaway, which leads to a 7-point lead.
This game is sponsored by AT&T, mobilizing your world.
One of the all-time greats in the history of the Cowboys and the NFL. Grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, went to the Naval Academy where he won a Heisman Trophy, was a veteran of the Vietnam War, and then 11 years with the Cowboys, 2 Super Bowls, went into the Hall of Fame in 1985, the great Roger Staubach. And I know you have great admiration for him, as always, here at the game today.
Well, he's a great man, and he's the greatest Cowboy of them all. You know, he got this organization and won a couple world championships. Just a good person.
On first down, that'll be a gain of 3. And you know, Troy, you've had a chance to spend a lot of time around Roger, and that was in the news last week a little bit before we saw the Cowboys against Seattle. Who's the greatest Cowboy of them all? And you came right out and said Roger's a guy. Yeah,
you know, Tony Romo came out and said, you know, Jason Witten could arguably be the greatest of all time, and that really, it speaks volumes for what Romo thinks of Jason Witten, and a tremendous compliment. But to me, that conversation's pretty short. I mean, there's one guy in my book, and it's number 12.
All of a sudden, the Giants are becoming stingy on defense against this Cowboys running game. This will set up a 3rd down and let's call it 6. As the Cowboys have fallen behind for the first time today.
Well, Barry Fuel talked about it. I mean, this is the down. You know, the being able to get off the field. The Cowboys, as we said, they came into this game as the #1 offense, converting on 3rd down. They've had success for the most part here today, but this is a big down right now for both these teams.
Great coverage by Amukamara, but able to corral it enough for a first down. First catch of the game for Dez Bryant.
Well, it was good coverage. The ball was just placed where, you know, defender's just not able to make a play on it. Dez Bryant gets inside, and then the ball is low and away from Amukamara, and he's just unable to get a hand on it. So that's a big conversion then for the Cowboys.
Well, Bryant picks up his 2nd reception, his first to convert on the 3rd down, and back to the paws of Murray. Stiff arms a would-be tackler, and then steps out of bounds at the 42-yard line. That'll be a gain of 10 on first down by DeMarco Murray.
That's a great job by DeMarco Murray, using the stiff arm and being able to get away from Kennard to the outside. So you've got a guy like Murray who, you know, he's got great speed. He's got great power in between the tackles, but he's able to get on the edge. I mean, he really is a complete back.
Pretty much right in step. The way the Cowboys have operated, running and throwing the ball this season. Dunbar nowhere to go. We'll bring up 2nd down and 10. 5:15 to play until halftime, and the Giants on the road after being shut out in Philadelphia with a 14-7 lead.
Well, we talked about it coming in, Tom. This team they were embarrassed last week in that performance. Really, both sides of the ball just did not look good. And, you know, as I said, playing within the division on the road, prime time, those are hard games to win, but nobody in the Giants organization anticipated that kind of performance.
Hey, KC, out here, 57, Boston. Double right. Here we go. Omaha,
2nd down and 9. Romo hit as he threw, and he's looking for Bryant, who may have had it knocked away. Had it momentarily, and then Amukamara knocked it out of there.
Well, Jason Pierre-Paul, he's able to get just enough of Romo as he's trying to make this throw. Then the ball hangs on him because Des Bryant gets off the line of scrimmage. As you see, he's beat. Amukamara is beat for the touchdown, but Romo just unable to get enough on that because of the play by JPP.
Third down and 9 for Dallas. Just sitting down right in the middle of the field is Witten, and that's a first down to the Giants' 42-yard line.
There's that zone coverage there by New York, and Jason Witten initially, they try to reroute him off the line of scrimmage. But then as he gets vertical, they pass him off the end of the safety and they forget about him, and there's just a huge void within that defense.
Jason Witten already has the second most receptions among all tight ends in the history of the NFL. That reception puts him number 2 in yards. He's just gone by Shannon Sharp, behind only Tony Gonzalez. DeMarco Murray, a first down to the 22-yard line. May have lost his footing stumbling along the sideline and is slow to get back up.
Well, I'd check him because the way that he went down, he might be hurt. I initially thought it might be a hamstring, but he is walking off. There was no contact here as he's running up the sideline. That right foot and ankle looks like might have been what grabbed the turf, and see if he's going to be okay. But that's been the question mark with him, and everybody's been concerned about his, the durability factor, and can he remain healthy?
Last year, had to miss a couple of games, and they put Randall in. Murray already 13 carries for 73 yards, and he's trying to, of course, rewrite the NFL record books. If he can go over 100 today, that would be 7 straight games to begin a season. No man has been there before.
And we saw in New York, they were playing pretty well. They played the run pretty good, on some of those carries for DeMarco Murray, but they just stick with it, and then you start reeling off some of the big runs like we just saw when he got hurt.
Fake it to Randall. Romo spins out of trouble, looking around, and that is a touchdown for Terrence Williams. Unbelievable protection by the Cowboys offensive line.
Well, the Cowboys go vertical routes on the outside, and they try to work it opposite of Terrence Williams, but because, as you said, Tom, just no pressure on Tony Romo, allowing him to buy some time and escape the pocket, he's able to then find Terrence Williams working back to help his quarterback. That's an outstanding job by Romo keeping the play alive, and Williams getting open for his quarterback.
Van Bailey, the point after is good to tie the game. Well, Romo, his second touchdown pass. We're even. Well, you talk about a lot of weapons for the Cowboys before you get to the name of Terrence Williams. Well, this young man is a playmaker. Only his second year out of Baylor. At 44 receptions, 5 touchdowns as a rookie. That is his 6th touchdown already this year. Michael Cox 5 yards out of his own end zone. And he's up to the 20-yard line.
Well, we saw the touchdown earlier to Gavin Escobar. They put he and Des Bryant on the same side of the field. Both of them are running vertical routes. And initially, that's where Tony Romo was looking to go with the ball, but just good coverage. But once Jason Pierre-Paul rushes underneath, it opens up Tony Romo to be able to get outside contained, buy some time outside the pocket. Good coverage initially by Zach Bowman. And then he completely loses him. Terrence Williams just able to recognize his quarterback needed somebody to get some separation for him, and you called it. Just another week and another big play by the guy.
All right, Giants have all 3 timeouts remaining, plus a 2-minute warning. They're going to hand it off to Hillis on first down, and that'll be a gain of 3. And that'll bring us to the 2-minute warning. And a 14-14 game. We invite you to follow your favorite team all season long. Just go to iTunes.com/NFL. Giants with the football. 14-14 game. Second down and 8 from their own 22. Eli in trouble. Lays it off to Peyton Hillis. And he's up to the 26-yard line. Giants have all 3 timeouts. So too, to that matter, for the Cowboys. They get a third down stop. They'll get the ball back.
Well, the Giants say they're 0 for 3 here in this first half on third down.
Clearly miscommunication there, and with 1:31, it is 3 and out for the Giants. So Dallas figures to get the football back after the upcoming punt.
Yeah, they didn't even give themselves an opportunity on that play. You see, as Eli Manning's discussing it, and he expected Beckham to keep going on the route up the sideline, and you know, those are some of the communication things that you would expect with a guy who just hasn't been able to practice much.
Weatherbird puts a right foot on it, and Harris from the 22 took a big hit. He slammed to the deck of the 27-yard line. Check in downstairs on the condition of DeMarco Murray with Carissa Thompson.
Cowboys fans can breathe easy. DeMarco Murray just grabbed his helmet. He is working out that ankle on the sideline. They taped it, sort of reinforced the left ankle. It looked over. He nodded his head that he was fine and good to go.
It's interesting. We saw that replay, and it looked like both his left foot had an awkward turn to it, as did his right foot. So it turns out to be the left foot. But here with 1:21 to go, Murray is standing on the sideline, empty backfield. Cowboys have all 3 timeouts remaining. And this time, it is Jason Pierre-Paul who comes up with a sack on Romo. He beats Smith.
Yeah, we see Tony Romo a lot of times be able to avoid the rush. Tyron Smith, he's the one in protection on Jason Pierre-Paul, and as Romo tries to buy time and escape out of the back of the pocket, Jason Pierre-Paul was there.
Hey, Seattle! 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 53! 53! What is that? Seattle! Look. Here we go. Oh, mama!
45 ticks remaining, and nobody in the neighborhood. J-Rod Hosley was thinking, let me get to that, and it's nothing but green to the end zone. Third down and 19 for Dallas.
Yeah, I couldn't tell exactly. It looked like maybe Cole Beasley. You heard Romo yelling Seattle. You just heard him say it again. So Cole Beasley, I don't think, heard Seattle because he didn't run the route that Romo was expecting.
Well, he ran towards Omaha.
About Omaha.
Yeah, I'm big in Omaha. That's about it. On third down, they're going to run it. And still on his feet across the 30-yard line is Dunbar. And the Giants are going to burn a timeout. They have 2 more left. Let's check in back with Kurt and the gang. What's coming up on the Visa halftime?
Coming up on the Visa Halftime Show, what a day in the NFL. The Rams pull a huge upset over the Seahawks with some trickery. The Bills and Lions pull off late wins as well.
And Jacksonville won finally!
We'll calm Jimmy down and get it all to you on the Visa Halftime.
Your old head coach a little excited there about the Jags getting that first one.
Yeah, well, Jimmy at one time was almost the head coach there in Jacksonville. In fact, I think that's what started some of the problems in Dallas with them.
Of course, Tom Coughlin was the man who started the franchise in Jacksonville. What a great job he did there for the Jaguars. This is Beckham returning punts today. And he's dropped in the 29-yard line. So you have 20 seconds left. You have 2 timeouts remaining. So we're coming up on halftime. Speaking of halftime, the rapper Pitbull announced on Friday night at his concert in Dallas that he will be the halftime entertainment for the Cowboys Thanksgiving game.
At the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, putting it down for Thanksgiving.
Troy, you'll be right here in your hometown for that game.
Yeah, they always do a great job securing top talent. Charlotte Jones-Anderson does a terrific job in a lot of ways, that being one of them.
We'll be excited for that. And incomplete on first down. 14 seconds remaining until halftime.
You see the Giants, they've got 2 timeouts. The Cowboys still have 3. And now the clock stops with the incompletion. We'll see here what New York is going to elect to do before the half.
Well, their kicker, Josh Brown, has a big, strong leg. Career long of 58. They're just going to turn and hand it off to Peyton Hillis. And that will be the final play of the opening half.
Well, Coughlin was hollering to get a timeout. He was able to get it. I thought so also, Tom. I really expected them to just run the ball on first down. And then when they ran it on second down, it looked like they were going to be content with a tie ball game here at half. But Coughlin was able to get the officials' attention. Now with 3 seconds, try to take one shot down the field. So you look at where they're at on the field and trying to get a ball that far down the field, it's going to require a lot of protection for Eli Manning. Sometimes when you try this, the quarterback takes a pretty good hit.
Well, the Cowboys,
that long.
They have their safeties all the way down at the 30-yard line. They take the timeout to hand it off once more to Peyton Hillis. And that will be the final play of the first half. Well, the Giants have to feel very good about where they are. They've been up and down to begin this year, coming off the shutout in Philadelphia. And we're tied at 14 at halftime. Let's go to Kurt Menefee and company in Los Angeles for the Visa halftime. Welcome back to America's Game of the Week inside the NFC East. The Giants and Cowboys are tied at 14. Nissan's today's excitement. And the 2 quarterbacks, each with a couple of touchdown passes. Romo does have 1 interception.
Well, that 1 interception, set up the touchdown there by the New York Giants. But it's been a pretty evenly played game there through the first 30 minutes.
We brought up earlier the comments made by Jason Pierre-Paul, this being a must-win despite being week 7 for his Giants. Knowing that Philadelphia already at 5-1, these Cowboys at 5-1. And the Giants will get the football to begin the second half. Michael Cox, 5 yards out of his own end zone. Out across the 20 and a good return. As the kicker Bailey runs him out of bounds at the 35. We check in downstairs with Carissa.
Hey, Tommy. Yeah, Jason Garrett happy with the play of his team overall. This team entered #1 in the league on third down conversions, continuing that today, going 6 for 9. Not happy with the penalties, though. Only 3 penalties for 31 yards, but a big one on holding. He says, they're trying to stop the run, so we got those one-on-one matchups that he wants to take advantage of. For Tom Coughlin, he says, we got to get some pressure on Tony Romo, and we got to run the ball. You guys, John Beeson will not return. He's not even dressed.
Well, the Giants ran it at 5.5 yards per clip. They had the one big run by that man, Andre Williams, who's still on his feet. That's a good first down carry up to the 41, a gain of 6.
Well, we talked about it. That's what they wanted to come in and do. They wanted to run the football. The key for them really is converting then on third down and keeping some of these drives alive. They were not very good on third down in that first half. Carissa Thompson, talked about Jason Garrett and what they want to do offensively. The one area where the Giants have not been good defensively is giving up big plays. Cowboys unable to take advantage of that, really, like some of these other teams that they faced.
Hard. 118.
Play fake to Williams. And Eli just throws it away. He nearly threw that right into the arms of George Selvey.
Well, we've seen Eli now a few times when, you know, in the first half they were mostly on some screen plays where he just had to try to get rid of the football and avoid taking a sack. You know, that one you can just launch it, just launch it out of bounds.
Well, Troy mentioned only 1 of 5 are the Giants so far on third down, and this is a 3rd and 4.
False start. Offense, number 67. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
That's the 4th penalty on the Giants today after being hung with 10 in that shutout loss at Philadelphia.
Yeah, this one was on Justin Pugh. He said last week's performance against the Philadelphia Eagles was by far his worst game ever, and he's had some costly penalties in this game already.
3rd and 4 becomes 3rd down and 9. Good protection this time, and Manning's going to run it. Needs to get to the 45, and he gets there. That is by far the longest run this season by Eli Manning, and that picks up a 1st down.
Well, it took him a while to get there. Yeah, there was a lot of open field out in front of him, and it looked dangerous there for a minute because he wasn't going to the ground as Orlando Scandrick came in to make a play on him. Thought he was going to take a pretty good shot, but Scandrick pulled up, and then he finally went to the ground himself.
Reminded me of you back in your wishbone days at Oklahoma. Has dropped for a 1-yard loss. Is Williams. Rod Marinelli not happy about the result of that 1st down run.
No, they've, as you see, Jeremy Mincey is the one that he's talking with. He expected him to be able to be there and make a play. And, you know, they have faced some quarterbacks that can run. They opened up the season against Colin Kaepernick, last week against Russell Wilson. Neither of those guys, you know, did any damage. You don't expect Eli to run, but that was a big 1st down for the Giants.
118,
Williams off to the right side, cuts it back to the inside, crosses into Dallas territory, tripped up at the 48. It'll bring up another 3rd down.
Of course, Andre Williams getting his opportunity with Rashad Jennings going down. And I know in visiting with Ben McAdoo, the loss of Rashad Jennings was huge. I mean, he was really playing well during that win streak, and with the injury, and they're not real certain when they're going to get him back.
Yeah, they have a bye week next week. He had 176 rushing yards in that win over Houston. That's a beautiful throw and a nice catch made by Preston Parker for a 1st down, run out of bounds at the 35.
Yeah, and he's battling that sun. You know, this stadium runs east to west, and as he turns to try to locate the ball, it looked initially like he had some issues trying to find it. You know, I was talking to owner John Mara before the game about just that. It was overcast when I was talking to him before the game, but, you know, now the sun's broken out, and this is what you deal with in this late afternoon game when these receivers are having to turn back and look into this sun.
118,
Williams. And he is met immediately by Terrell McLean. And the Cowboys are saying he stripped him of the football.
One of 4 progress had been stopped prior to the ball being pulled loose. 2nd down.
Wow. Whistles blew. Forward progress is the call on the field.
Well, I thought that I had heard a whistle, Tom, that they had blown it. You know, forward progress had stopped prior to the ball coming out. You certainly see where Jason Garrett would be upset about that one.
And he throws a challenge from the Dallas sideline. He wants him to take a look at this. Although the key in this equation may be the whistles having been blown, stopping Williams in forward progress.
tell Jason Garrett, I think they're going to talk to him. And
the ruling on the field was that the runner's forward progress had been stopped. That play cannot be challenged. There is no timeout charge to Dallas.
That's exactly what we just were getting ready to make the note that on that play, when the officials are starting to walk over to Garrett to let him know. Let's check in with Mike Pereira back in Los Angeles.
Yeah, people are going to ask now, why isn't he charged a timeout if the play is not reviewable? The only reason you would be charged a timeout is if you threw the challenge flag, if you were out of timeouts, out of challenges, or if it was inside of 2 minutes. Here he tried to challenge a play that's not reviewable, so he won't, in this case, be charged with a timeout. Now, in itself, it's not reviewable because of the judgment call on the field that the ball came loose when he was being pushed back, and that stays as is.
All right, so the Giants quickly right back to the line of scrimmage. Mike Pereira, thank you. Flags all over the field.
False start. Offense, number 7. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
Well, that's left guard Weston Richburg, and the Giants have really hurt themselves with these pre-snap penalties in this game. And Richburg, the rookie out of Colorado State, grew up in Amarillo. He's got quite a following here at the game today. About 50 friends and family have made the trip. They didn't want him to see that.
No running room. After the penalty, it'll bring up third down and very long for the Giants. Right now, it would be a push to even think about a field goal. We mentioned earlier the career long for Josh Brown is 58 yards. And this would be beyond that.
Well, I think as Eli Manning, you're looking at, you want to pick up the first down, but if there's nothing down the field, just make a completion and try to get them well within his range, so the field goal attempt becomes much easier.
Manning has not been sacked today. He was sacked 6 of the 8 total in the game against the Eagles. A little bit high. Manning took a big hit by Jeremy Mincy. And so it will be the punt team rather than the field goal try.
Well, that wasn't very good because the Cowboys played very soft. They were going to give up this completion, and all they've got to do is complete it. You throw this route each day in practice, and with no coverage, they're unable to complete a really easy throw that may have given them an opportunity then to try to kick the field goal.
Sure. Harris going to let it bounce. It'll check up. Beautifully done by Weatherford, and the ball down inside the 10. Cowboys get it for the first time in the second half when we come back.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. By the all-new Chrysler 200, America's import. By Burger King. For a limited time, get 10 chicken nuggets for just $1.49. And by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV.
It has been a spectacular weather weekend here in Greater Dallas. Sunshine, temperatures in the mid-80s, and here we are in the third quarter. The Cowboys have DeMarco Murray back on the field, and on first down, he's wrapped up by Jonathan Hankins after a gain of 1.5 yards, maybe 2.
Well, that's an outstanding job by Jonathan Hankins, playing the block and then being able to get off of it and make a play.
And they're waiting for the big fella to get up. Might need a crane to get him up. That is a big man. He was a dominant player at Ohio State. Slipped to the second round, and this is his first year as a starter.
Yeah, watch the play that he makes. Travis Frederick, he's outstanding in being able to reach these big offensive linemen, and it's why the Cowboys have been able to run the ball as effectively as they have. That's not an easy block, and he's not able to make it here, but Hankins is able to play through that block and then make the tackle. That's an excellent job.
Well, you can mark it down that Frederick and Hankins have gone toe-to-toe plenty of times. Hankins, a Buckeye, and Frederick, a 3-year starter at Wisconsin.
You love that he's a Buckeye, don't you?
You better believe it. Those are real men.
Yeah. Wow. You're unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
188.
Second down and 8. And once more it is Murray. And he's up to the 27-yard line, very close to a first down, depending on a spot. And Murray is once more knocking on the door of a 100-yard rushing game. Had that scare near the end of the first half when an awkward turn right there with the left foot, the other with the right foot. It turned out to be the left foot that they were taping up. But Carissa Thompson told us that he would be back in the game to begin the second half at 82 yards.
Snap infraction. Offense, number 72. 5-yard penalty, still third down.
Well, that's the center. You don't see this one very often. We'll take a look right here. Yeah. You can't do that. You see, he double clutched it. He started to snap it and then tried to hold it. There was quite a bit of movement on both sides of the ball after that. It was a good job of the officials being able to see it.
That's a big difference, 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 6. So they'll empty the backfield. Great protection. And Bryant wide open. And still on his feet. Thrown down at the Giants' 45-yard line.
Des Bryant, you see him, he's on the inside. They stack him with Cole Beasley, and he just runs an outstanding route and completely turns around Chandler Fenner.
Injury for the Giants all the way back at the line of scrimmage is Jason Pierre-Paul. He has been a factor here today. And 4th meeting between the Cowboys and the Giants. Jason Pierre-Paul on the sideline, but was able to walk off. That's a good news for the Giants. And sticking his nose in there to wrap up Murray is Zach Bowman.
Well, we saw Chandler Fenner on Des Bryant. He was just signed off the practice squad this past week, and they bring Cole Beasley down. He's wondering if he's going to get any help, and once they bring Beasley down and Antrell Roll steps up, he's one-on-one with Des Bryant, and you see the result of that. He got them all turned around, and Romo with plenty of time in the pocket. It was an easy completion.
Jason Pierre-Paul back in there on 2nd down, and Romo throws once more to Bryant. Able to escape from Prince Amukamara, and that is a Dallas first down. Gain of 17 on the reception by Des Bryant.
Well, when Carissa talked with head coach Jason Garrett, he said, hey, we need to take more advantage of some of those one-on-one opportunities on the outside, and we've now seen that now a couple of times to Des Bryant.
Bryant had 4 catches in the win over Seattle last week, but only 1 in the second half. That's when the Seahawks put Sherman on him the rest of the game. Down the middle of the field, and it is a touchdown. A second today for Gavin Escobar.
Well, Des Bryant doesn't make this catch, but he has an impact on the safety. He's going to give help to his side, and because of that, you see the middle of the field wide open then for Gavin Escobar. He's just got to keep the receiver on his outside hip and set the angle for Tony Romo, and then Romo lays it in there beautifully. It's a nice job hanging onto the ball at the end of that catch. But an excellent job of affecting the coverage and then getting in the hole.
And what a throw that was. Romo's third touchdown pass in the last 2 weeks to Gavin Escobar, and the Cowboys back in front by 7. A very, very impressive drive for the Cowboys. 6 plays, 93 yards. On the point after, Dan Bailey, who is the NFL's all-time most accurate kicker. Show you what happened to him after successfully hitting the PAT, and he has been limping ever since. Michael Cox out of the end zone. Not a good decision. Only up to the 16. We only point out Bailey because if he's ever limping, that will get Jason Garrett very worried. Watch this. 21-14 Dallas. Well, basically the spread in total yards came on that last Dallas drive. Spanning 93 yards to go ahead by a touchdown. They pitch it to Andre Williams. Cuts it back to the inside, and he's up to the 19-yard line. A gain of 3 on first down.
Well, that was a big drive by Dallas. You said 93 yards. Made some plays to the outside. You know, that touchdown, first down play action, a 2-man route. And because Dez had been winning on the outside, it impacts then the safety play, and it gives Gavin Escobar really a clean shot right down the middle of the field for the touchdown.
That one stuffed right at the line of scrimmage. And Rolando McClain able to finish him off. Third down coming up. New this season. Stream live local Sunday afternoon games right on your smartphone with NFL Mobile. Rolando McClain, 25 years old, out of Decatur, Alabama. 8th pick overall in 2010 by the Raiders. Played 3 years there, had a number of off-field incidents. They cut him. Was signed by Baltimore. He quit playing football. And the Cowboys made a trade with Baltimore to bring him back this year, and he is their leading tackler. Third down, good protection, and Randall across the middle. Hangs on to the football, and that is a first down for the Giants up to the 34-yard line.
Well, that's a big third down conversion, considering that their defense had just given up a 93-yard drive and facing 3rd and long, and protection in the pocket. A nice route by Ruben Randall, and he's been the guy of those receivers that we talked about who had to step up with the loss of Victor Cruz, who has made some nice plays in this game.
Willis keeps those legs turning and powers his way to a gain of nearly 4.
You know, I know you look at the average of New York and their ability to run the ball. You know, it looks pretty good, but it's been tough. It's been tough going, and they've seen a lot of 3rd and long situations. And I think the Giants came into this game anticipating that they would have more success than even they've been able to have in this game.
Fake it to Hillis. And what a catch by Larry Donnell. Big fella reaching back behind him and coming down with the football to convert and move the chains to the 40.
That's an outstanding play. It's a great look at it right here, and what Eli Manning sees, and you know, he's trying to shade it away from the safety, and so it's a ball that's thrown a little bit behind, but that's where Manning wanted to place it. But it then requires Donnell to make an adjustment to the ball, and he does beautifully.
Comes down. Throw the quick hitter to Preston Parker. This might be a hold against the Giant wide receiver trying to block.
Well, you watch Dallas when these teams.
Holding, offense, number 82. 10-yard penalty, replay, first down.
You know, they're trying to run this quick wide receiver screen, and Ruben Randall has to make the block then on Orlando Scandrick. Clearly a hold. But here's that catch that Larry Donnell made. Big time play. But Dallas, when Seattle tried running it last week, the quick wide receiver screen, and it doesn't matter who's playing corner, they hit it right away. They do not wait around, and that's why that play I've not seen it work against this Cowboys defense, no matter who's been trying it.
Delay to Williams. Picks up a yard.
Well, there's a good shot of Rolando McClain, and you mentioned him. And, you know, you lose a guy like Sean Lee, who's such a great player for this defense, and you're able to bring in Rolando McClain without any real expectations. He clearly was a talented guy, but out of football a year ago, and he has really, you know, saying he played well isn't even enough. He's been outstanding.
Beckham caught it, but looked to be out of bounds. You know, you go back to last year, this was such a dreadful Cowboys defense in 2013, and many wondering, would this be the worst defense in the history of the NFL? It was the worst in Cowboys history last year. Then they get into the injury to Sean Lee after you lose Jason Hatcher and DeMarcus Ware. Yet here they are under Rod Marinelli, and they have been a solid defensive team.
They've been better than anyone, even those in the organization, could have expected.
All day to throw it, and far short of a first down. The catch is made by Beckham Jr. And this would be roughly a 58-yard field goal try, but it looks like they're going to go ahead and punt it. So that was a good drive that stalled, especially after that holding penalty.
Yeah, that's what killed the drive. And you know, they had something going. They get the big catch up the seam by Larry Donnell, the holding call on Ruben Randall. It's just too much to overcome. They're looking at 1st and 20.
Minute 30 to play here in this third quarter. Cowboys have the football one time, and it was a 93-yard scoring drive. And once more, an excellent punt that'll pin the Cowboys inside their own 15. Ruben Randall charged with that holding penalty, and it hurts the Giants' drive. I wondered if Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie would be available to play today. Been in and out of the lineup, but he will not start on his first down. And DeMarco Murray up to the 28-yard line on a first down carry. And that will put him 1 yard short of the century mark.
Well, Jeremy Parnell, the right tackle, he comes in and he's able to make a key block there. In order to open up that cutback lane, he gets Marcus Kuhn on the ground. It has been fun to watch this offensive line do the things that they've been able to do. They've been really good.
On first down, they're going to throw it, and that's Des Bryant. Loses Amukamara, and he closes across the 50 to the 49-yard line.
Well, the Giants just really don't have much of an answer right now, Tom, because they're having success running the football even when the Giants overcommit an extra defender, and now they're beginning to be able to take advantage of those one-on-one looks that they're getting on the outside. You know, Romo came into this game. He got banged around pretty good last week in Seattle. He had some rib and ankle injuries throughout the week.
At this time of day, you're looking right into the western sky and right in to the sunshine. Into the third quarter. Dallas on the move with a 7-point lead.
Tom saw Romo talking to his guys in the huddle, you know, during that TV timeout. I would expect maybe even a shot down the field. He's changing the play now, though, at the line.
Double move.
Opening play of the fourth quarter. And a couple of yards on the pickup by DeMarco Murray. Tuesday night on Fox, the Fall Classic begins. Giants and the Royals. The coverage of the World Series will begin on Tuesday night, 7:30 Eastern, only on Fox, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Joe Buck, Harold Reynolds, Tom Verducci, Ken Rosenthal, Aaron Andrews, and a cast of hundreds from Kansas City. And that makes it 7 straight games to open a season of 100 yards rushing for DeMarco Murray, the first player in the history of the league to do that. Let's check in back in Los Angeles with Joel Klatt.
All right, Tom, Arizona trying to grab a commanding lead of the NFC West after Seattle lost earlier today. Of course, San Francisco plays Denver tonight. Stephon Taylor, 4-yard run. 21-13, Arizona over Oakland right now. Tom, Troy, and Carissa.
Bruce Arians, what a job he has done in the desert. Trying to go to 5-1 on the year. Niners, as Joe mentioned, later tonight. This is a big down for the Giants defense.
Hey! Oh, here we go.
On a 3rd down and 5. And trying to keep him away from 1st down yardage is Amuka Mara, and he does an excellent job. Had help by Hankins. And now what do the Cowboys do? They're leaving their offense for the time being on the field. Do they try a very long field goal attempt, or do you send out the punt team? Looks like the punt team. Chris Jones is out there.
Yeah, this was a tough decision, I know, for Jason Garrett as to what he wanted to do, whether he wanted to go for it, try for the long field goal. We know what kind of leg Dan Bailey has, or pin this Giants offense back in their own territory.
Blown dead before it ever started. This will be against the Cowboys. We'll back them up 5. Delay a game.
Well, with them punting, it really doesn't impact anything. But, how about the job Prince Amukamara does?
Delay of game, kicking team, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
They're on 3rd down, Tom, being able to get him to the ground. Now, he had to get some help from his teammates, and he got it. But they complete the pass, and then trying to hold up Des Bryant from picking up that 1st down. That was a big stop for the Giants. The Cowboys have been completing 70% on 3rd down in this game.
Well, the Giants will start this drive at their own 11 after they denied Des Bryant a 1st down.
Today's Game on Fox is sponsored by Disney's Big Hero 6 in theaters in 3D November 7th. By Nissan, innovation that excites. And by KFC, the world's best chicken. How do you KFC?
12:34 to play. Amuka Mara comes up with a big play on defense, and now the Giants down a touchdown. We'll hand it off to Andre Williams on 1st down, and he's met by Tyrone Crawford. Let's check in with Carissa.
Well, you guys were mentioning the sun coming into AT&T Stadium here. When you stand on the field, and as the Giants are driving down, looking down at the north end of the stadium, there are doors that roll up. This is the first time this year that those doors have actually been up. That's a Jerry Jones decision, and man, is it tough to see.
We have certainly seen that sunshine affect plays, especially returning punts. Since they opened this venue 3 years ago, that's a penalty flag. Odell Beckham Jr. was looking for it right from the start. And tangled up with Brandon Carr.
Yeah, Brandon Carr was looking for it too. Right at the end of this play, he immediately looks back to see if a flag was coming in, and
pass interference.
He knew there was contact.
Defense, number 39, spot of the foul, automatic 1st down.
You talk about that sun right now, Tom. At least for the receivers, they're going to be looking back, and the sun's not any longer going to be in their eyes. But Eli Manning has to battle it, and it's a factor.
Automatic 1st down. Our guys looking right into that sunshine, trying to give you all the pictures at home. Manning will throw it away. We've called the name Jeremy Mincy a great deal today. He's in his 7th year out of Florida, a guy who was originally drafted by New England. He was cut, San Francisco, cut, went to Jacksonville, spent 6 years there, half a season to finish last year with Denver. And really, that's almost the norm for this Dallas defense in so many positions. Guys that were just cast-offs or were out of football in some cases. pitch it to Williams. Justin Durant, Carr, Scandrick all there to meet him.
You know, we saw that second down play, or the first down play, Tom, and they try to run the screen again. And they've not had any success with that play in this game. Constantly we've seen them try it, and Eli's just had to just dump the ball onto the ground. They've made it real hard on themselves. They've seen a lot of difficult third and long situations throughout the game.
Sits down right in the middle of the field, lost the football, and the Cowboys have recovered. Donnell right at the first down mark, and Church stripped it away.
Well, that ball was moving, and he was not yet on the ground, and that's a fumble, Tom. He was in good position to make the play, but just an outstanding job by Barry Church coming in, tackling not only the ball carrier, but also the football and stripping it loose.
Justin Durant able to dive on it. A takeaway by the Cowboys defense. And a big one here in the fourth quarter with 11:05 to go.
Boy, it sure was. It looked like they were going to be able to get enough for the first down and keep the drive alive. And you know, now the pressure becomes on this defense already. Cowboys are in obvious field goal range and wanting to get more.
Now it's the Cowboy receivers who will look into the sunshine. Safe throw to Murray. Back to the inside. Shaquan Williams wraps him up, but he's down to the 23-yard line.
You know, going back to the Giants offensively, Tom, you know, Ben McAdoo comes in as the offensive coordinator, and you know, he's talked about it, that their approach is going to be they're going to run the football and then take high percentage passes. He came out before the season began and said he wanted to see Eli Manning as a 70% passer. Eli's never been that. He's been a guy who gets the ball down the field. They've not been able to get a lot of big plays, and it is hard to methodically drive the ball against any defense in this league.
Drop for a loss by Jameel McClain.
Well, right now with the Giants, this would be a huge win for them on this possession if the Cowboys are unable to pick up a first down or come away with anything other than a field goal attempt.
And remember, we saw Dan Bailey limping around after a point after on the last Dallas touchdown to bring the tie. Bay down at 8.
Hey, Black Mustang! Mustang White!
Blitz coming. Romo gets it away to Bryant. And it is a touchdown for Des Bryant.
Well, Prince Amukamara one-on-one, and Des Bryant just beats him right off the line of scrimmage, and Romo knew that he had pressure. They're bringing the blitz. They didn't disguise it at all. One-on-one outside. It's not a touchdown. You see Des Bryant is down before he's able to extend the arm across the goal line, but a big third down conversion.
And they review any scoring play, so they're going to take a look at this one. For the time being, ruled a touchdown. We await the scoring review. Ruled on the field a touchdown.
After reviewing the play, the receiver was down by contact at the 1-yard line. It'll be first and goal at the 1-yard line.
And as we suspected, it'll be first and goal for the Cowboys at the 1. In this second half, Tony Romo, 7 of 7 for 143 yards. Des Bryant in the second half, 5 catches, 113 yards.
Well, they've taken advantage of the looks that they've been able to get. I mean, it's It's been impressive to watch what they've been able to do with the running of DeMarco Murray, and then as you continue to overcommit to that, then the play action, and not many guys, if any, in this league can cover Des Bryant one-on-one.
180!
Murray waiting for the signal, and a touchdown for DeMarco Murray. So Des doesn't get it, but his buddy gets it. And after the fumble by Donnell, the Cowboys cash in.
The Giants, they pretty much held their own right there on that surge, but there was enough of a crease for DeMarco Murray to stick the ball across the goal line. That's a heck of a drive there by the Cowboys, being able to cash in. They got great field position with the fumble, and then being able to come away with 7 points.
And it was Barry Church who stripped the ball away from Donnell, as Bailey will have the extra point. Well, they traded up to get Des Bryant going back to the 2010 draft. They're watching him grow up right before your very eyes. Trying to go to 6-1 are these Cowboys. Back alongside the Hall of Famers Troy Aikman and Carissa Thompson. Tom Brenneman back at AT&T Stadium. 14-14 at halftime. And the combination of Murray on the ground, Romo and Des Bryant in the air. Another very impressive performance so far by these Dallas Cowboys.
Well, it has been, because they can beat you a lot of different ways. I mean, you've got to try to then to figure out what you're going to do defensively against them. And they haven't been able to slow down DeMarco Murray, and they haven't been able to cover Des Bryant. And right now, for the Giants, down 14 points, they've got to be able to come up with some big plays offensively, something, as I said earlier, has been hard for them to do.
This one a long way from being over, 9:11 to play. But early on, the Giants were right there with him step for step. Beckham, his second career touchdown. Terrence Williams with a score. Gavin Escobar has a couple of them. That broke the tie to begin the second half. And then after the turnover, it looked like a touchdown for Des Bryant, ruled down at the 1-yard line. And DeMarco Murray went in to make it a 14-point lead. Back in the hands of Donnell. And he steps out of bounds at the 29-yard line. Second down and 1.
Well, here's that play earlier on the previous possession by Larry Donnell when he coughed it up and gave the Cowboys a short field, which turned it in then to a 2-possession game. So they're going to need him down the stretch to get back in it.
Left up around the neck is Andre Williams. LeVar Edwards, very little playing time after they made a trade to get him from Tennessee just before the year began.
That was a nice play by him. They're trying to make a block there and just are unable to make it. And as a result, they failed to come up with the first down on 2nd and short.
And now 3rd down in the yard. Williams, a first down, and then some. Church drags him down up to the 38-yard line.
Rolando McClain, he was able to get into the backfield and actually maybe be able to stop Andre Williams before he was able to pick up the first down. But nevertheless, a good 3rd down conversion for the Giants. Got a lot of ground to make up in a short period of time.
Hey, got 3 rockets, same guy. 3 rockets. 55. 55. Go.
Donnell, a nice catch. Penalty flag comes down. He's to the Cowboy 44.
Let's go.
while the quarterback was in the pocket, holding. Defense, number 27. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a first down.
So the route there by Larry Donnell, and they having a grab at the top of that route. A well-thrown ball by Eli Manning. If he's able to keep his feet, he's one-on-one with the other safety in the middle with a chance to get even more out of that play. See Eli battling the sun.
7.5 minutes remain. Cowboys bring the blitz with Skandrick off the corner. And a back shoulder throw completed to Reuben Randall, and that's another giant first down inside the Dallas 30-yard line.
You know, the Cowboys are going to continue to do what they do, and even with a 2-possession lead, they continue to play one-on-one on the outside. You know, they're not giving these corners any help. They're bringing blitzes. We saw Orlando Skandrick on the last play, and so far Eli Manning's been able to take advantage of the looks.
4-man rush this time. Quick slant to Reuben Randall. And he's to the 15-yard line.
Now this is an impressive drive right now by the Giants.
Not even 3 minutes young is this drive, and they're knocking on the door to make it a 1-score differential. And that is Beckham. It'll be 1st and goal for the Giants in the 5-yard line.
Just not giving any help. This time, Brandon Carr one-on-one. Odell Beckham Jr., he runs a slant route. Marinelli just trusting these guys will be able to hold up, but they haven't on this drive.
Jump ball for Beckham. Excellent coverage by Brandon Carr to stop the clock. 5:46 left to go.
Now, they'd run the slant the previous play, and thinking maybe they can get Carr to overplay it and then throw the fade route, but played well defensively. And Tom Coughlin wanted a penalty.
Ninth play of this drive. Running a little bit low for Hillis. It'll bring up 3rd down and goal.
It was a good idea. He had plenty of time in the pocket, just good coverage, and if he's able to get the ball to Hillis and they complete that, if he catches it on the run, there's a good chance he's able to score. He's not even able to make the catch, so here we go.
Reuben Randall trying to go up and get it. Great coverage by Sterling Moore. And there is no debate. The Giants are going here down by 14 at 5 minutes to play.
I like how Reuben Randall was able to, he cuts his split so that he has a lot of room then to work to the sideline. Eli's throwing it up, giving him a chance to try to make a play then over Sterling Moore, and Moore makes a good play on the ball.
It's Moore locked up with Randall at the top of the screen again on 4th and goal. And that is a touchdown for Beckham Jr. and a point after away from a 7-point game. What an impressive drive by the New York Giants.
Well, Odell Beckham, we talked about it. He has not played a lot of slot. They have a few routes inside for him coming into this game. And for a guy who really isn't that familiar with the position, he does a nice job. I mean, he settles down between the 2 defenders. A lot of guys will be running into defenders. You got to have a good feel for the plays, the players around you in that position. And Beckham does a nice job. It's a great job on 4th down.
And a point after is good. So it's 5:28 left to go. Eli Manning and the Giants march down the field. A 7-point game. Odell Beckham Jr., his second touchdown catch today. In his NFL debut a couple of weeks ago, he got his first. We brought up earlier, Tom Coughlin walked up to him on the sideline, said that's the first of many more to come. And now they're within 7 are the Giants. That one banged through the back of the end zone by Brown. So Tony Romo and the Cowboys leading by 7. Giants have all 3 timeouts remaining, 5:28 to play.
There's obviously plenty of time left in this game, and just an outstanding job by Eli Manning. 4th down, really the game was on the line right there, down 2 scores with just over 5 minutes to play. But very impressive Odell Beckham, with limited practice time, especially in the slot position, to run what I thought was an outstanding route against that zone look.
No running room on first down for DeMarco Murray as Jason Pierre-Paul makes a play.
Well, you look at this, Tom, and there's no question the Cowboys would love to run DeMarco Murray and run this clock down. The Giants stacking up once again that defensive front. Prince Amukamara is going to draw the assignment of Dez Bryant. They're going to take a shot to him to keep these drives going, and the burden's going to be on him to hold up and make a play.
Second down, Romo finds Bryant against Amukamara, but it appears to be about 2 yards short, maybe a yard and a half short of a first down. This is a huge 3rd down coming up. So now decision time for Jason Garrett. Do you run it? Do you throw it on 3rd and a long yard and a half?
Well, I would sure think it is long. You're right. It was showing 3rd and 1, as you said, 3rd and 1 and a half.
Romo perfect here in the second half.
They're showing run, but you get the one-on-one look to Dez Bryant. I would expect to get behind this offensive line.
They give it to Murray, and he will slip through the right side for a first down up to the 37-yard line.
They get behind this right side, and you see they just collapse everybody down, and then it's one-on-one. DeMarco Murray, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, he comes in. You're not going to get DeMarco Murray on the ground just coming in with a shoulder like that.
If you're just joining us, DeMarco Murray, the first player in NFL history to start a season with 7 consecutive 100-yard rushing games. So a new set of downs under 3:30 to go. The Giants don't spend a timeout. Murray cuts it back the other way to the 46-yard line. $17 yards.
Well, they started play side, but DeMarco Murray knows he's got the cutback. They collapse the backside of the run. There's nobody in contain, and DeMarco Murray, once he knows he's picked up the first down, it looked to me like he just gave himself up to keep from maybe putting the ball on the ground.
First down. For a yard, and the Giants are going to spend a timeout. You also have the 2-minute warning coming up. Most rushing yards through the first 7 games going back to 1980. And all of a sudden, after the performance today by Murray, he leapfrogs the late great Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, and closing in, although we'll not get there today on Jamal Lewis, but that is pretty high cotton, as they like to say.
Well, pretty good company to be in, and Tom, we got a chance to talk to him on Friday. He is about as intense a player as there is, and I think he's really enjoying this, but he's not taking any of it for granted. And he works exceptionally hard during the week. He prepares to come out and play, and he doesn't take any credit. He is very quick to compliment this offensive line and the job that they've done in front of him.
He's 26 years old, grew up in Las Vegas and played collegiately at Oklahoma. Troy mentioned earlier the knock on him and the reason he slipped to the third round, his inability to stay healthy during his collegiate years as a Sooner. Saw Des Bryant circled by Troy Aikman. That's where they're looking. And that's where they go to make it a first down to the 32-yard line.
About this guy, Des Bryant. I mean, I don't know that I've seen a receiver catch more balls that are contested than he does. I mean, he is so good at the point of the catch. I mean, that's good coverage with Prince Amukamara draped over him and grabbing his arm and trying to keep him from making the catch. And time after time, you just see this guy come down with the ball.
Look at the second half numbers today for Des Bryant. And Tony Romo has been spectacular getting them the football here in the second half. 2-minute warning. Cowboys lead by 7. Our producer today is Richie Science. Our director, Rich Russo. Our associate director, Rich Gross. Our associate producer, Jeremy Metal. And our broadcast associates, Alex Olson and Brendan Terralabaro. Marco Murray to the 30-yard line on a first down carry. And a timeout taken by the Giants. 1 remaining for New York. Week 7 continues later tonight on NBC. Good one there. Niners and the Broncos. And then coming up tomorrow, the Texans will be in Pittsburgh.
Pretty something when you look at Peyton Manning may very well set the all-time touchdown pass record tonight in that game against the team in San Francisco that he was considering going to at the time he was leaving Indianapolis. It came down to the Broncos or the 49ers. It's amazing. That's, you know, they were talking about it on all these pregame shows as to whether or not that's a record that would ever be broken, and I'm not so sure it will be.
Boy,
I don't know who the next guy would be that could possibly contend.
Murray stopped after getting back to the line of scrimmage, maybe picking up a yard. And again, a few guys pushing and shoving. You know, you look at this Dallas offensive line as the Giants take their final timeout. You know, we've talked so much about the #1 picks, Tyron Smith and Travis Frederick this year, Zach Martin out of Notre Dame. But Ronald Leary, a guy they found off nobody wanted a couple of years ago coming out of Memphis. Cowboys had an eye on him. And then today, Doug Free, their starting right tackle, replaced by Jeremy Parnell, a guy they signed away from the practice squad with the Saints, who when he came out of college was a defensive tackle and moved to offensive tackle. And what a job Parnell has done here today, filling in for Free.
Yeah, he stepped in. There's Doug Free. He's going to miss some time. And, you know, all the good teams that I was a part of had good offensive lines, but those guys all got along, you know, and they really became the heartbeat of the team, and that's what's happened here in Dallas. You know, now as we look at 3rd and long, you know, it's a real luxury when you've got a guy like Dan Bailey who you know can, you know, this is well within his range, and he's virtually automatic. I don't think there's any question the Cowboys run the ball here.
And they do. And the Giants defense stands tall. So this will be a long one. I mean, make no mistake, as Troy points out, Dan Bailey last week when he hit his first field goal try in Seattle became the NFL's all-time most accurate kicker in NFL history. Went 3 for 3, including a 56-yarder. But this one would be from almost 50, maybe the 49-yard try by Bailey, as they're going to let that clock continue to wind down. Giants are out of timeouts.
Well, they'll be just over a minute. You see Jason Garrett's going to let it run down, and he'll call timeout, and there'll be just over a minute left when they set up to kick this field goal.
Well, coming up on the OT shortly, you'll hear about all the ongoings from action around the NFL. The Bills rallying late to win. The Redskins the same. Drew Brees, a huge interception in the 4th quarter, late in the 4th quarter, giving the Lions a short field, and they score to win it over the New Orleans Saints earlier today. Now, we showed you Bailey was limping around after a point after. A Giant came flying in an attempt to block that point after touchdown and clipped it, looked like his left foot or left ankle. Bailey in 61 attempts has missed 3 times in this stadium from 49 yards. And I mean right down the can. This guy is something.
He's money. I mean, this entire operation, and Dan Bailey is about as automatic as they come. He missed a few weeks ago against the Houston Texans and then came back in overtime and kicked the game winner. But he is a real weapon for this team. He's been remarkable.
I mean, to give you an idea about how much they think of Dan Bailey, they signed him to a contract through the year 2020. Why mess around with a good thing when you have it? And speaking of a good thing, granted we're under a minute, it's a 10-point game, officially not over, but these Cowboys are 59 seconds away from a 6-1 record. And you would be hard-pressed, Troy, really to find a team that has been more impressive top to bottom this year than the Dallas Cowboys. They lost their first game of the year when they played a terrible first half against the 49ers. You look at who they have coming up after a bye week. They are on some kind of roll.
Well, that Arizona game, I mean, they're all hard, but that Arizona game November 2nd is shaping up to be a big one. You know, as well as they're playing, as well as the Cowboys have played, you look at it and you say, okay, well, that game's going to mean something as you move into the postseason.
Going out of the back of the end zone. We welcome many of you watching elsewhere around the country. It was a 14-14 game at halftime. Gavin Escobar, a couple of touchdown catches. He has 3 in the last couple of weeks. But a key moment in this game, a strip by Barry Church on Larry Donnell. Cowboys turned that into a touchdown to go up by 14. Giants went down the field, scored a touchdown. But the Cowboys get a field goal to make it a 10-point game with 59 seconds left to go. Philadelphia Eagles are off this week. Donnell picks up 12 on first down.
Well, I think what the Cowboys did on that possession, Tom, is what good offenses do. It's a 7-point game, and you know, you're trying to go down and run the clock down, come away with points, and then make it another 2-possession game and win it. And they were able to accomplish that.
Ball stripped again out of the hands of Donnell. And that will tie a ribbon around that one as Henry Melton falls on top of the football.
Well, they stood Larry Donnell up, and Justin Durant's able to go in and rip it loose, and it looks like a carbon copy of the one that happened earlier when they had a nice drive going when Barry Church was able to knock it loose. But just a good win, really a great team win for this Dallas team. You know, and on the last possession, as I said, offensively to be able to run the ball with DeMarco Murray, get some plays with Romo to Des Bryant, and then come away with the field goal to extend it again to a 10-point lead and ice the game. That's big time. That's what good teams do, and that's what good offenses do.
Well, the Cowboys will go to 6-1 for the first time since 2007. And that year, you may remember, they went 13-3. They lost to the Giants in the divisional playoff game. So Jason Garrett, this is the kind of team he envisioned, the style of play when he took over as head coach midway through 2010. It's taken him a while to get there, but boy, right now, they're there.
And he was heavily influenced by what the Cowboys did in the 90s. He feels that's the blueprint, and they're following it this year for the first time in his tenure.
Good defense, great running game, great quarterback play. Cowboys win it 31-21. Back in a moment.